Hi there, Mariette Martinez, and I want to share this video that I have created for Master Your Books and also for several of my partners that want to understand the full process to go from no books to tax-ready books. So first, I want to share with you the concept of what it means to build tax-ready books using the framework, the Small Business Accounting Workflow. Then I want to share with you one of the key essential steps to making sure you're ready to prepare tax-ready books year-round, which is getting organized with your financial and business documentation. And then lastly, let's bring in tax-ready books to go ahead and apply this concept of an accounting workflow year-round to go ahead and complete your accounting tasks, prepare your financial statements, and report this information onto your tax returns. And that's going to be the concept of building tax-ready books using QuickBooks Online. So here is your video on going from no books to tax-ready books, and then bringing in a technology like QuickBooks Online to doing this smarter and faster. Enjoy and see you in the video. Bye for now. So what is the goal for this session? Our goal is to explore key strategies for our small business clients to go from no books to tax-ready books. So we want to be able to guide them on this path with less stress, making sure that we don't lose or miss any essential accounting tasks or workflows or best practices. And we want to leverage technology like QuickBooks Online in today's session to be able to do things smarter and faster. So if this is a goal for your firm and to do alongside your clients, and you're in the right place, so let's go ahead and keep going. We're going to focus in three key areas in today's session. We're going to focus on learning the small business accounting workflow, because the small business accounting workflow is the path that's going to take our clients from books to taxes, which is from no books, if they have no books at all, prepare their books, prepare their rock solid books, and then have them now enter a seamless process to the year end readiness process, which of course includes preparing for taxes. So all of that happens in the small business accounting workflow. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to move into the concept of getting organized, because for a business to truly empower themselves and be ready to do their books from no books to tax-ready books, they need to be organized, and we can give them a jump start to that. So we're going to cover that concept as well. And then of course, we're going to go into QuickBooks Online, because I know many of you are excited about QuickBooks Online, and we're going to take this concept of the small business accounting workflow and being organized, and then leveraging a technology, in this case QuickBooks Online, to do the full tax-ready books process inside of QuickBooks Online. So again, if you're excited about this material, then stay tuned, because it's going to be an awesome session. So let's go ahead and start with the small business accounting workflow. So what is the small business accounting workflow? The small business accounting workflow is the simple three-step framework that I designed to illustrate to my small business clients the actionable path to go from books to taxes. So I knew that I needed to connect with them, and I wanted to collaborate and co-create with them their books throughout the year. So I wanted to provide them a framework where they felt like they can do it. And that's essentially what the small business accounting workflow is. And what it does, ultimately, it bridges the communication and financial literacy gap between accounting language, which is the language we use amongst each other as accounting professionals, and the plain business universal language that we want to incorporate into our client conversations. So that way, us as accounting professionals and the business owners, we can be using the same language, and we can truly bridge the gap and be able to support one another through their entrepreneurship journey. And that's what the small business accounting workflow was designed for. But what is the small business accounting workflow? It is a simple process, and it's intentionally simple, so that way I can illustrate that and teach this to my business owners. And what it does, it guides the business, again, to go from books to taxes. I want them to understand that there's a process to get all of their books done, so we could eventually be able to close the year or close the period and then prepare the taxes. And when we know that's getting done, we also know that we are achieving tax-ready books. Tax-ready books are those books that are being built and maintained year-round. And what else are tax-ready books? Tax Ready books are rock solid books. They're rock solid financial statements that have completed the full accounting services journey. And when I say the full accounting services journey, as you can see here, it's the path from real time bookkeeping to accurate financial accounting, and then maintaining this accurate financial accounting and data and reporting year round so that we know that we have complete and accurate financial statements year round. And those are tax ready books. And I love to refer to this full journey to a business owner as the path to rock solid books because I want them to get excited about building the rock solid books. But for us as accounting professionals, we also want to be aware that when we are co creating and building rock solid books alongside our clients, we're also paving a clear and systemized path to the year end readiness process because we know we're going to eventually need to close the books for the business owner, and we're going to want to have a system and a process for that. And we can do this alongside our clients if we are teaching them the power of tax ready books. And this journey always starts with the business owner and the accounting professional choosing what each role is going to be. We need to choose what are our roles, what are our responsibilities, who is going to do what on this financial statement journey. So that way we can make sure that the tax ready books are accurate, that they're complete. And ultimately, now we can share with them that there is a framework for that. And that framework, again, is the small business accounting workflow. So what is the small business accounting workflow? It's a simple 3-stage accounting framework. Completing all of the accounting tasks, preparing the financial statements, and reporting on the taxes. So complete, prepare, and report. 3 key stages. So let's go ahead and put some illustration to that, because as an accountant that usually wants to illustrate something to a business owner, because they're kind of looking at you and they're like, okay, Mary, can you get a little bit more in detail? What do you mean? So that's when I started illustrating to them, this is what it looks like to complete the full accounting workflow. First, the workflow starts with the first stage. And the first stage is, of course, the most important stage. It's the essential stage to complete all of the accounting tasks, all of the workflows, and close the books. And when we say close the books, we know as accounting professionals, we can be closing the books on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, or on an annual basis. But essentially, we have 4 stages to maintain these books year round. We want to manage those books on, let's say, a weekly or monthly basis. We want to balance the books to make sure everything's verified and validated. We want to maintain the books year round. And then we want to be able to close the books, again, based on the period end. So when I knew that I needed to illustrate, and not only illustrate, teach this concept to my business owners, that's when I designed another framework called the end-to-end accounting lifecycle. And that is that 4-stage framework that you're seeing right there. Now, I will share a free resource where y'all can go deeper into the end-to-end accounting lifecycle, because that is its own session that I could teach, but I am going to give you a resource and a bonus for you to go ahead and dive deeper. So let's assume that we've completed the first stage, that we completed the end-to-end accounting lifecycle, and we completed all of the accounting tasks and workflows for the business. So what's next? Preparing the financial statements. But here is the power in using a workflow. When you are completing accounting tasks year round and using a framework, then you are seamlessly preparing the financial statements. Right? And there's going to be a lot of automation in addition to this concept that's happening in the background, because now you're using a workflow and you're using technology to organize yourself, to obtain the documentation, to get the work done. And so preparing financial statements truly becomes an automated process for you. And it's also when you and your business client can feel confident that you have reached tax ready books. So now you've reached tax ready books, and you, as an accounting professional and your business owner, feel very comfortable that the right data has been entered, that everything has been validated and verified. The books are balanced, and now you're even doing higher level consulting and advisory work, like reviewing their numbers and doing KPIs, all of that because you actually have good data on the financial statements. But what else is happening in this workflow? What else is happening in this workflow is that the financial statement data, as we all know, will eventually seamlessly also be populated onto the reports, onto the tax forms, onto the next step in the process. And so now you know that if you are maintaining this workflow year round, when it comes to tax time, and tax time is not only at the end of the year, tax time could be quarterly, could be monthly. It all depends on when you're reporting tax forms and tax obligations. You can feel confident about that because that's already getting done throughout this entire accounting workflow. And so we know that's the full business accounting workflow. And we know that the goal is to do what? Is to have a path, to have an illustrated guide or path to be able to cover with our clients and explore with our clients. We can do this as long as we each know who's doing what. We can implement this workflow for your business, and we can do this alongside you. So that's also the power of understanding the accounting workflow, that there are different parties that are part of this workflow: the accounting professional, the bookkeeping professional, the tax professional, and the small business owner. All of you can take responsibilities and roles for this accounting workflow. And that's why it's so powerful to just have that conversation in regards to the roles and responsibilities and who's going to be doing what to be able to get your client from books to taxes. Now, there is one important concept that we want to cover before we move forward, and that's the concept that the end-to-end accounting life cycle is actually a stage that is split into two essential steps. So the first step is basically completing all of your accounting tasks, right? So all the tasks, all the workflows, applying accounting principles, making sure, again, all of those stages are getting done. Manage the books, balance the books, maintain the books, and close the books. But guess what, my friends? We also need to set up and maintain a secure organizational structure for our business clients so that way they can keep track of all of this. Because what happens when you start teaching them all of the things that they need to do in their books and how they need to go ahead and complete their tasks and how they need to implement new workflows, then they're like, but where am I keeping all of this stuff? How am I going to stay organized? How am I going to stay audit proof? Which is very important for a business owner. The way they do that is by building a secure document management system. And that's why step one, that first stage, is really two steps. It's completing all those tasks and building and maintaining a secure organizational document management system. And the last concept I want to share here before we go any further is that this workflow is done year round. This is a year round concept. Why? Because if you are implementing this and working with a business owner on their tax ready books year round, you are seamlessly guiding them throughout the year, and you're already preparing them for a stronger year end and an even stronger next year. And so this is a year round process. And so as you start learning and implementing this, you really want to take this throughout the year. This is not just one quarter. It's not just beginning of the year or end of the year. It's a year round accounting practice. Okay, my friends. So as I mentioned, this can actually go into a whole 3-hour session. But since we don't want to do that, I want to give you exploration for you to do on your own. And you're going to know that because I'm going to let you know. Like for this example, if you wanted to learn more about the end-to-end accounting lifecycle, if you wanted to learn more about the full accounting services journey, which was when I showed you the bookkeeping to accounting, the accounting to the financial statements. And from the financial statements, there's even an additional journey for accountants, which is now going into advisory. So I have tons of free resources out there, but I wanted to just share the ones that apply to today's session. So you can go ahead and check out 2 videos that I have on YouTube that go deeper into that topic. And on my website, masterbooks.com, I have a completely free guide and video that covers the full journey. So if you want to explore more, you can absolutely do that on your own. But we're going to keep going. And we're going to now focus on getting organized because, as I mentioned before, getting organized is essential for a business to be able to incorporate this concept of tax ready books. Getting organized is an essential step to complete the full workflow, to achieve tax ready books. And more importantly, it just gives a business owner a peace of mind. So, how do we give them a jump start on getting organized? So it starts with this question. We sit with our business owner and we ask them, okay, so we want to get you organized. You're going to have all of this information coming through. Where will the source of truth be stored? So I've even done this myself where I ask the client, where will the source of truth be stored? And they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Because again, source of truth is really an accounting or an auditing language. That's what we use in our profession. They don't necessarily use that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to bring up another question or maybe explain it a little bit differently, which is what is considered source of truth. So let's make sure our business owners understand what is source of truth so they can really take advantage of the fact that as long as they are capturing this information, they know that they're audit proof, they know they can sleep at night, and now they really take ownership and responsibility of collecting and storing their source of truth. So all we need to do here is just talk to them about it. What is source of truth? Source of truth are your business records, your data, your supporting documents that will substantiate what you're doing in your business, right? The information, the transactions, the calculations, the conclusions, what we're seeing in your business, what we're seeing on your financial statements, what we're seeing in regards to money in and money out. We need to have a source of truth of this activity. And that's what a source of truth be. So it can be many, many things. And then we can start giving them examples. Of course, the most obvious source of truth will always be bank statements, credit card statements, right? A trial balance at the end of the year. Those are all source of truth examples. So another way of saying it is a source of truth are your source of truth documents that prove what's happening in your business, what's happening with your finances, what's happening with your everyday transactions. Those are your source of truth. So now that a business understands what source of truth is, you can go back to the question again. So where are we going to store all of this? Because now that they're taking ownership to prepare tax ready books and to do this work, they know this needs to be stored somewhere, right? It needs to be stored somewhere. And so they want to store it in a secure document management system. So what is a secure document management system? A secure document management system, as you can see there, is the organization's secure record keeping system. So we want to keep record of everything, right? As definitely things that are source of truth. We want to store this information in a secure place, and we want to be able to access it quickly and safely and securely. So that's super important. And so when you start discussing this concept of a document management system with your business owners, of course, the concept of, yes, I want to keep records and I want to keep it somewhere, but there's also additional requirements that you may want to consider talking to them about. For example, what does it really mean to have secure anytime, anywhere access? Right? Is this going to be a tool or is this going to be an app or is this going to be a platform where you're going to want to access it not only on your computer, but also on your mobile devices, also on your tablets? Are you going to be able to want to access it from anywhere? Do you have adequate storage? Is it collaborative friendly? For example, if you're going to be collaborating with your business owners, is this going to be a platform where you can create documents? Great example, that would be the Google Suite documents, where you both can be collaborating on documents, on spreadsheets, on different types of ways for you both to be doing work at the same time, right? Again, it goes back to the roles and who's doing what. And of course, very important, does it meet requirements for cybersecurity and other measures based on your industry's requirements and document types? So those are very key conversations to have in regards to which option they're going to choose, which platform they're going to choose. But where we can really shine, my friends, where we can really shine is once they've chosen the platform, we still need to guide them on the logic. So we still need to guide them on, okay, so I have the platform. So how do I actually set it up? believe it or not, we assume that a business owner knows how to do this, but it only takes us a few minutes to go ahead and say, here is a good way to build a hierarchy so that way you can easily find your documents. And so that way, when I'm collaborating with you, you can share certain folders with me, for example, and then I can easily find this information as well. And so that's why we like to build out a business's file hierarchy structure with them. So that way they can really take ownership of this role, but you can guide them on how it's going to serve them best. So here's an example of building out a file hierarchy. So you usually start with what's called a parent folder. So in the case of this example, we're going to say we have a 2024 parent folder, and inside that folder, you're going to have subfolders. These are going to be the key subfolders where you're going to save all of those sources of truth. And then from there, you continue to build out your hierarchy structure. So for example, in the parent folder for 2024, you're going to have an accounting folder. And in the accounting folder for 2024, you're going to have other subfolders that are related to accounting transactions, like your sales, like your expenses, like your financial goals, like maybe your 1099s that you're receiving. So other transactions related to accounting. And you can, again, walk through this logic with your business owners, because even if you feel like it's logical to you, you want to make sure it's logical to them. So that way they're actually going to use it. And then you just continue building out from there. So once they understand the concept, then you implement it. And of course, the best way to implement it is once they've chosen their program, then you're going to go ahead and implement it into an electronic secure document management system. So here's an example of one using Google Drive. So they chose Google Drive as their storage. They created a 2024 folder, and now they're creating their subfolder. So again, 3 steps. They chose Google Drive. They're starting to build out their hierarchy, and then they're continuing on by building out their subfolders as well. And here is a bonus. This is going to be in your supplemental handouts as well, is when you start building these folders up, many times the question I get from my business owners is, but what am I supposed to save in each one of these folders? So this is just a bonus for everyone here to think about where you would save, for example, all of your point of sale summaries or all your cash register tapes. That would probably be in a sales folder. Where would you keep canceled checks or third-party payments or transactions related to 1099 contractors? Well, if you're paying that out to contractors, that would probably be an expenses folder. And then here's an example as well of items that would fall into a permanent sub folder. So this is included in your supplemental handouts, an example of what you would put in these folders if you want a few more examples. Again, remember, these are all considered sources of truth as well. These are source documents, also referred to as work papers as well in the accounting and auditing industry. And so you can use these in these folders, and now these become your source of truth and your work papers. So just a super quick demo, because this is what I do for my clients. If they're like, okay, Merritt, can you just show me? I'd say, sure. Here's an example of Google Drive. Here's an example of you're building out your new folder. You just build out your 2024 folder. We have a folder for finances and for planning. In your finances folder, you have accounting and taxes. Under your accounting folder, you start building out your folders. And so here I'm literally walking them through it. And many times when I'm actually showing them this demo example, they're like, hold on, Mariette, let me go ahead and do it on my end too. So it's like at this point, you're literally walking them through the process, and it's such a cool experience. I also have a bonus video for all of you where I actually show you how I do that with my clients, and I actually show you how I built it for my own practice too on an annual basis. So you can check out that video on YouTube. So what's really important is that we need to shift now. So now let's say we've talked to our clients. They're on the Tax Ready Books journey with us. We've covered our roles. We've covered our responsibilities. We know who's going to do what. Now, again, this is ideal situation. This is like a perfect world, but we're going to live in this perfect world for the next 30 plus minutes. Okay. And so now we know what we're supposed to do. Now we built out this beautiful file hierarchy system with our clients. They are ready. They've got their bank statements, their credit card. They have all of their source documents organized, and they're like, okay, let's get into QuickBooks. So it's like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do it. So we're going to shift now from getting organized and truly stepping into the Tax Ready Books process and building this out in QuickBooks Online. So this is Tax Ready Books with QuickBooks Online. So remember the small business accounting workflow? That's why we covered it. The small business accounting workflow is the exact same workflow we're going to do inside of QuickBooks Online, but we're going to now incorporate it. So when I say plus QuickBooks Online, I really want to just take a moment here to stop and say that can say plus any accounting software that you're using. Okay. It can say plus FreshBooks. It can say plus Wave. It can say plus Xero. The concept is that if you're using an accounting workflow, that is the financial literacy part of the conversation you're having with your clients. That's how you get them on the same page. That's how you use the same language. Then you can add any other accounting technologies that you want. Of course, we're going to use QuickBooks Online, but I just want to make that really clear. Okay, so we're going to do tax ready books from start to finish with QuickBooks Online. So does that look familiar to anyone? Complete, prepare, report. We're still going to use the same workflow. We're going to still complete accounting tasks. We're going to still prepare our reports, and we're going to report on the tax returns. We're still going to do those 3 key workflow stages, but we're going to incorporate an accounting technology to do it. So complete accounting tasks quickly and accurately, doing what? Using QuickBooks Online. So there are 3 options to complete the accounting using QuickBooks Online. You can do what's called connect the banks. And here, my friends, I'm going to have to provide you tons of free resources because each one of these things I'm going to teach you can take between 15 minutes to an hour. So obviously I can't teach you that, but I'm going to give you tons of resources. Okay, just be aware of that. So connect the banks. I have a video completely on how do you connect your banks, and this is considered linking your bank to QuickBooks Online. The second option is called uploading your data. So here you're going to actually upload the data. You're going to upload your financial data, whether it's bank data, whether it's credit card data, whether it's liability accounts or loan accounts that you have as a business owner. And you, meaning the accounting professional, are going to do this for them, or you alongside the business owner, you're going to go ahead and help them upload their data. Again, I have a video for that. Or you can use PDF statements. Yes, you can. You can use PDF statements. And I just did this for a client last week because she closed her account back in 2022, and I'm doing 2022 through 2024. And so the only thing she could get was PDF statements. And so what we need to do is we need to convert those PDF statements into QuickBooks uploadable files. And once they're QuickBooks uploadable files, then we basically use the second option, which is upload data. And so for that one, you're going to want to search on YouTube for how to use the PDF to QBO option. And I am going to give you an option for that in a moment. And what's really important as well is to understand that you can choose any of these options. So if you're starting from a client from scratch, they've never used QuickBooks before, you probably could just use option 1. If you're doing what's called catch-up accounting, where maybe you have to do a year's worth of accounting and then you're going to be catching them up for 2024, for example, then maybe you're going to use option 1 and 2. And for the example I just gave you, where I'm doing 2022 all the way through 2025, right? The current month in 2025, I need to actually use all 3. So this is a combo. I'm doing a combo of 1, 2, and 3. So let's review the steps for each option. So I'm going to now go slower because I want to make sure you understand the steps for each option. And by the way, my friends, this is also in your supplementary handouts. I gave you all of these step-by-step options. So number 1, connect the banks and credit cards, which means link the account. So here you are linking the account to QuickBooks Online. There are 2 key steps to do that. The first step is to connect directly into QuickBooks Online under the area that says connect an account, okay? And you're going to find that under the area that's called bank transactions in QuickBooks Online. And you are going to connect the account. You're going to link the account. The second step is to now bring in the data. And once the data is all in there, you're going to categorize that data always based on the 5 main chart of account types. And we'll cover those in a moment. I have a video for that, as I mentioned, so you can go ahead and watch that video. But the key benefit to using the Direct Connect, also known as the link account option, is it's fast, It minimizes error. It's reliable because it's bank level security. It's automated. And the more you bring in the data, the more that QuickBooks remembers the data. It does what's called smart machine learning. So it starts remembering what you did in the past. You can create auto categorization. So those are rules, and that's truly where the automation happens. And of course, you can go ahead and attach receipts or even bring in receipts in, and that way it'll read the receipt and then the transaction will come into the banking area. And so what do we do there? We're allowing our business owners to ditch the shoebox. Step number 2, upload into QuickBooks Online. So this is when you don't want to connect directly to QuickBooks yet. And instead, what you want to do is you want to do these 4 steps. You first want to download the transactions from the bank or credit card institution. This is usually going to be under the account activity. So you're literally logging into the bank or credit card, and commonly under account activity, you're going to find the download option. And you want to make sure you're using the download option of these file types: CSV, QFX, QBO, OFX, or TXT. If QuickBooks ever decides to give you other options, you can go into QuickBooks and find out what are the new formats they allow. Once you download it, so for example, I usually love to download in a CSV format because I can edit and clean it up a little bit, because I garbage in, garbage out, right? So I don't want garbage into my QuickBooks. So I'm going to clean it up, edit it. Of course, I'm not going to change amounts because that would mess up my accounting, but I can clean up descriptions because sometimes banks have really strange descriptions and details. I'll do that cleanup. And then after that, what am I going to do? I'm going to upload it into QuickBooks Online through the upload process. And that one's going to be found under the option that says import bank transactions. And then ultimately, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have all the transactions in my banking area, and I'm going to be able to categorize them using the 5 main account types. Again, I have a video on that. As you can tell, this is a much longer video, almost 20 minutes, because I go in much detail in regards to how that process is done. The third option is PDF to QuickBooks Online. So if you can see here, I gave you a little toolbox because this is a little secret tool. Right back in the day, people thought that if they only had a PDF or if they only had a physical statement, they actually had to manually enter the data. No, never manually enter the data. You can download into a PDF file or even scan the statement in, and then you can use a converter. For example, my favorite is MoneyThumb, and the MoneyThumb converter will take that PDF hard statement, whether it's a scan statement or whether you downloaded it straight from the bank account, and it will turn it into a QuickBooks file. So it'll turn into one of those acceptable files. And then you do the same thing. You save the file, you upload it into QuickBooks Online. Now it's going to be ready in your bank transactions area, and you're going to categorize them into the 5 main account types. And that, my friends, is how you can use 1, 2, 3, or all 3 options to bring transactions to QuickBooks Online. So we're going to do this really quickly. Let's go ahead and look at it. So here under your bank transactions, you can see here on my left-hand side, you see bank transactions. This is where I told you can either click on link account. If I clicked on link account, that means I'm actually trying to bring in an account and link it directly to a bank account. That would be if, let's say, for example, you're starting from scratch and you want to link that account. If not, you can also use the upload transactions area, which is here under upload from a file. That's option number 2 that I gave you. And here it tells you right now what the format types are. So always pay attention to the format types so you know what you can actually drag and drop here inside of upload file. Okay. And the third one would be, you would first turn it into from a PDF to a QuickBooks acceptable file. Then you would click on upload file and you'd go ahead and drag it, drop it. So the third one is just one extra step because you need to go ahead and move it from a PDF to a QuickBooks acceptable file. And then you want to go ahead and use this area to bring them into transactions. So again, like I told you, tons of resource for you to go ahead and learn this on your own, for you to even share it with your business owners if you want them to do it. All of that is on YouTube. And then for a special bonus, I have an additional video which actually compares if you want to recreate this just using Excel. So for example, I have some clients that are like, well, if I already exported my activity into Excel, can I just build up my P&L from Excel? Why do I actually even have to bring it into QuickBooks? Of course, when I hear that, I get a little like, oh no, we don't want to build, financial statements in Excel. But if that's what they want to do, then I do have a video that shows you how to build the P&L in Excel. But again, in that video, I encourage you to move that data into QuickBooks so that way you can get more data in QuickBooks. And so that's what that resource is. Okay, everyone. So what did we do? What did we do so far? We brought in QuickBooks Online. We brought in QuickBooks Online and we completed accounting tasks. So now imagine all the transactions are inside of QuickBooks. They came into both, and let me just give you like a live example. Let's just say that all the transactions came into QuickBooks. They came into a bank account and into a credit card. All the transactions have been categorized. How do we know that? Because there's nothing to be reviewed. Everything is under categorized, which means that this particular business owner is nice and clean. They're ready to go. So if they're ready to go, what is the next step? Let's prepare some financial statements. Let's see how we can walk through that financial statement conversation with the client. So step number 2, remember stage number 2 in the small business accounting workflow is first complete steps, which is all the tasks. Step 2 is prepare the financial statements. And now we want these to be tax ready, which means these are rock solid financial statements. And how do we do that with QuickBooks Online? So we have to come back to the fundamentals, my friends. We need to make sure our business owners know that to prepare the 2 key financial statements, and we know that we love the cash flow statement as well, but we're going to focus on the balance sheet and the income statement because those are the ones we're going to review first with our business owners. To prepare the 2 key financial statements, we need to make sure that they've been doing what? That they've been categorizing all of the bank and credit card transactions to the 5 main account types. Remember, I told you I'd remind you what those were? And so we know what they are as accounting professionals. For the balance sheet, it's the assets, the liabilities, and the equity. For the income statement, it's the income and the expenses. But we need to make sure the business owners are doing this. We need to make sure they are educated on the key financial account categories that they should be aware of. And not only that, that when they post something to the balance sheet, it needs to be either asset, liability, or equity, or if they're posting to the income statement, they should have chosen either an income or an expense account. So that is super important. And if we know that we've had this conversation with a client, then we can go into bigger conversations. We can look at the balance sheet from top to bottom and really discuss with them what their business condition and financial condition looks like. And we can continue to the income statement and review and discuss each one of these financial statements in details alongside our clients. But here is the most important takeaway. We can't get here if we haven't done everything that we've talked about up to this point. Right? That's the only way we know and we're confident that we can pull up the balance sheet and the income statement and we know that this is good, solid information. But let's assume that's the case. Let's assume that we know we have rock solid books with our clients. So now we're ready to look at the reports inside of QuickBooks Online. So let's look at the reports inside of QuickBooks Online. So let's open QuickBooks Online again, and let's focus on 2 areas. So I'm going to share with you a little tip, and then I'm going to share with you reports. So the reports area in QuickBooks Online has its own center. So here on the left-hand side, these are considered centers, which are basically areas in QuickBooks Online that usually have even a deeper dive inside of it. So the left-hand side is called a center. So for example, the bank transaction center, but in the bank transaction center, you would not only do bank transactions, you can also look at app transactions, receipts, reconcile, so on and so forth. In the report center, you can look at all the standard reports that QuickBooks Online gives you. You could also create custom reports. So these are the reports that you know you're going to talk to your clients about every single month. So you create custom reports. You have management reports, which are already bundled reports that QuickBooks Online has for you, which is really cool. And then you also have access to the performance center. So pretty cool as well. Okay. So what I want to focus on here, though, is that since I know that I look at reports with my clients every single month, I actually create bookmarks for those reports. And so I create bookmarks for those reports for 2 reasons. I create them because, again, when we get on a call, I know I can just go right over here. When I'm talking about a call, I'm talking about a Zoom meeting. We're on a Zoom meeting. I can go straight to their balance sheet. I can go ahead and start having conversations with them about their balance sheet. I can start having conversations with them about their profit and loss statement, about their cash flow statement. I already have it there. So I already know what the conversation is going to look like. But here's the other, I would say, biggest tip. When I open this up with my business owners and they look and see my bookmarks bar, they're like, Mariette, what is that on your bookmarks bar? And I tell them, oh, this is how we're going to go through today's session. This is kind of the workflow. We're going to look at your transactions, make sure everything's clean. Then we're going to go into your different statements, and then we're going to possibly do some additional work. And then they stop and they say, can you create that for me? Because I want to have something that simple and that, that workflow driven. And so it's a really good way for your clients to get excited about what you're going to do with them as well. And so that's how you start having the financial statement conversations with them. The last thing you want to do, and again, this is up to you, okay? But as an accounting professional that did both bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, and advisory, I needed to also make sure my clients were empowered in regards to what we were filing from their tax-ready financials and how we were reporting this on their tax returns. So that's why this last step is the process of making sure that the business owner knows what they're reporting on their taxes. And I call this the process of matching your books to your taxes. So here's the process. We start with the income statement. Okay, we start with the income statement. And the reason why we start with the income statement, even though every other conversation when I have my clients year round, I always start with the balance sheet. But when it comes to year end, we're trying to get the profit and loss done because usually they have their tax return and they want to get that done. So we start with the profit and loss because they may not need to complete a balance sheet on their tax form. And at this time, we've already validated that their balance sheet and their profit and loss is done. All we're doing in step number 3, in stage number 3, is I want them to understand how the numbers move from their books to their taxes. And so what's really important is first we go ahead and pull up the financial statements that are applicable to that business entity. Again, if it's a sole proprietorship in this example, we'd be pulling up the profit and loss. We also make sure we're choosing the correct accounting method. Very important, because even though I've been reviewing their books year round on the accrual basis, we may have to choose the cash basis now to go ahead and move those numbers from the books to the tax return. So we want to make sure we're pulling up the right basis, and then we're going to go ahead and run that report. Once we've run the report, we're going to put the report side by side. So we're going to pull up that profit and loss report on the cash basis, for example, if they're a sole proprietorship and they're filing under the cash basis. And I'm going to pull up their tax return. Yes, I am going to pull up their tax return and show them how so much here on their books relates to what's on their tax return. And we are literally looking at this side by side. So I pull this up on the screen. They're watching it. I'm looking at their face and I'm like, okay, let's do this side by side. And then we take it one area at a time. First, I like to come up here and explain to them on their tax return why it's so important for them to understand the difference between the cash method and the accrual method. And this is where I tell them, yes, I know that we've been talking about your books year round on the accrual method because you do payables, you do receivables. We want to see the full health of your business. But when it comes to your tax return, maybe they have the cash basis. And so that's why we pulled the P&L from the cash basis. So that's usually where the conversation starts. And then we go line by line. We look at the income, we look at the cost of goods, we look at all the different expenses, and we really have an awesome conversation going line by line from the books to the taxes. Depending on the entity type, we would do the same thing, for example, for an S corporation as well. And of course, if it's a business entity like a 1065, 1120S, or 1120 that does need to file a balance sheet, we would do the exact same thing on the balance sheet side as well. So let's go ahead and recap and start closing up our session today. So the recap first is going to be about the small business accounting workflow, right? That was the meat and potatoes of today's session. That's what we really wanted to make sure you felt comfortable with, that there is a guide, there's a path, there's an actionable way for you to get your clients from books to taxes, and you can do this alongside them so that way you both can feel confident that you're building tax-ready books year round. You can get them organized ahead of time, right? Ahead of tax time year round by helping them choose and build out a secure document management system. And then we went into the concept of creating that logical system for the business owner. And then ultimately, you can use a workflow like the small business accounting workflow and add technology. In today's session, we added QuickBooks Online to complete the whole year faster and smarter. And of course, additionally, as you start using technology, you can really build out your systems and your processes alongside your clients. My friends, until next time, let's end with this. Accounting is truly the language of business. And if we continue to build the confidence, the consistency, and the opportunity to use this language and transfer this language in our everyday conversations with our clients, guess what? We're all going to win in our relationships, and we're all going to win on this entrepreneurship journey. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you.